This week on Ad Library Teardown, where we rank brands from 0 to e-com hero, is the Sill. The Sill is a fast-growing e-commerce brand that sells none other than some of my favorite things, houseplants. I have a few myself, so it was hard to be unbiased this week on the Sill, but it's important to be unbiased because this 0 to 10, the 0 to e-com hero grading scale is law. It's official. I have to abide by it. That's what they tell me. So we're going to dive right in to how the Sill stacks up against the best in the game on that grading scale. And if you need another reason to stick around and watch today's episode, we're doing an inaugural game of Save Your Asset. We are going to take the Sill's assets that are currently in the account and use really simple graphic design tactics to optimize them for better conversion and better engagement with the consumer. So if you want to make fun of my graphic design skills, stay tuned. And if you want to find out where the Sill stacks up, let's dive right into it. So first things first, asset type. 24% video, 48% static, 28% motion. If you've watched a few of these, you'll know that that video score or that video ratio is very low compared to what you typically see within a high-performing ad account. So that leads to a C on the asset type score. No UGC, no authentic video within this account. As far as frameworks go, limited use of frameworks. We only really had Big Headline, which we'll touch on as one of the example assets in a second, and then some premium video. So not really utilizing high impact frameworks to drive conversion within the account. And then hooks, because there's no great UGC in the account, they're not really testing verbal hooks. There are some visual hooks in the motion graphics, but still low score, D on hooks. And then B for iterations, which is the case when you're not testing a lot of things. If you're only testing within Big Headline, you're gonna have a higher iteration score because you're really only doing one thing. So the B for iterations is really, again, just kind of showcasing that there's not a whole lot of diversity within this account. How do you get more diversity? How do you get better performance? Save Your Asset is going to save that performance. It's at least going to be funny for those of you, again, that would like to pick on my graphic design skills. So here we go. Save Your Asset. What we're going to do is we're going to look at an asset that's currently in the account, and we're going to strive to optimize it, strive to make it better by using some simple graphic design tactics, not skills, tactics. So let's get into it. Here's an example of an asset that's currently in the Sill's account. This asset obviously doesn't tell me a whole lot. It's a beautiful patio. There's a lot of plants on it. If you looked at the ad itself, in the ad copy, it speaks to some value props, things of that nature. But if I'm in the consumer's shoes, what's the first thing that I look at when I'm on Meta? I'm not looking at ad copy. I'm not on Meta to look at ad copy. The first thing I'm going to see is the image. And if the image doesn't tell me something that stops me and engages me, I'm going to keep moving right along. So that's an important thing to realize. You need to use the real estate, all of the real estate on your images, especially your static ads. So how would we do that on an asset like this? We pull in some of those value props to the asset itself. If you want to have the best, coolest, most amazing plant patio, the Sill is your place to be. I now know that from looking at this asset. But how do I go about obtaining and creating this amazing patio? Well, seems like I could go to thesill.com to get free shipping, a huge selection of different plants, and a happiness guarantee. So this is an example of bringing in some of those product features or brand features into a static asset to really tell the consumer more, hopefully engage them more, getting them to click, getting them to go to the website. And again, it's important to not just rely on the ad copy, but also the asset itself to do that. Let's look at another example. So this is an example of a Big Headline asset, something that the Sill is doing over and over again within the account. My argument here is that the Big Headline, again, doesn't tell me much about the brand or the process of buying these plants. So my recommendation would be to test these Big Headlines, obviously, see if you can find ones that have higher performance, generate a higher click-through rate, and again, test those value props. So an example of how I would do that is I would switch this to something that's maybe a big concern for some plant owners, which is, am I going to kill these plants? Am I going to spend all this money on e-commerce plans just to kill them? No, I'm not, because they're easy care. Seriously, they are. And this again kind of puts my mind at ease as the consumer. And you could also then reinforce the happiness guarantee or the free shipping or really just the ease of getting these plants delivered to your door and becoming a happy and wholesome plant mom, plant dad, plant aunt, plant uncle, however you want to go about it. So this is again an example of using the real estate to actually showcase value of your brand. And then finally, I did just want to quickly touch on the video assets. They're nice, they're funny, they're engaging, but to me they look more like a YouTube ad, right? They're highly produced. They're not very authentic. They're very on brand, but to raise this video strategy, to get that ratio up to that 50 to 60% video mark that we like to see within an account, I would lean into all of the people who love plants. There are no shortage of them, especially after the pandemic. Plant influencers, it's a thing. I would whitelist some of these individuals. I would source content from people who have houseplants, who love their houseplants, who just want to speak about how the Sill empowered them in their passion for houseplants. So that's how I would bring some authenticity into the videos and save those assets as well. But all of that said, again, as it stands today, we've got a C, a D, a D, and a B. So where does that put the Sill on the most official grading scale in econ? 0 to ecom hero. The Sill ranks at a 4.2. 4.2 Sill, but tons of room for opportunity. Again, often all it takes is simple graphic design. Hopefully we showcase that to you today. And that's it for this episode, episode 16 of Ad Library Teardown. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.